I feel like I should start this week's episode of Raw Ups and Downs by saying I am quite impressed with WWE's Monday night show recently. I think the last few weeks have been quite fun. I think the last few weeks have been entertaining. And the reason I just wanted to throw that out there is sometimes, shows do get lots of downs and the comments like, Simon, why didn't you like the show? I do like the show. That doesn't mean I'm just going to let everyone run amok. I will hold them accountable using the figure of power. But my name is Simon Miller and we are about to go through the latest episode of Raw, and it just never ends. I was thinking this, I had a conversation with someone the other day about this. Raw is so crazy. It started in like the early 90s and then it's just go, 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 go. It will probably outlive me. I'll be on my deathbed still trying to give out those ups and downs. Let's up those downs. So the start of Raw didn't do very much for one person, but at least it was a damn good idea, and it was damn entertaining, giving it up. And so I suppose it's all about when the shoe fits, and no, I have no idea why we're talking about shoes. But Drew McIntyre was out first because he is our WWE champion, and that's just what we do on WWE shows. We send that guy out to go, hello, welcome, it's so nice to see you. And he was thinking about what stipulation Dolph Ziggler may pick for their match at Extreme Rules, and he even said, maybe we'll have a big scrap next to a volcano. No, Drew, you don't say these things. Do not give Vince McMahon ideas. Because clearly WWE hasn't actually come up with a stipulation yet. Out came Dolph Ziggler and he went, I'll tell you what the stipulation is. No, I won't. It's a secret. Now, one, not only is that terrible for promotional purposes, who's going to tune in for a secret? But two, Dolph Ziggler boy, we went through this. If you get to choose a stipulation for a match, you go, the rules for the match are, no matter what happens, I win the WWE title. Who's gonna say no? Things just happen, stuff just happens in WWE. The cool thing here though is that Dolph accused Drew of just leaving a bunch of friends in his wake, especially after he got fired a few years ago. He was all about Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre is number one. And while Drew said that ain't true, and I want my firing a few years ago to inspire people, Ziggles went, oh yeah, well what about this dude? And out came, of all people, Heath Slater, oodalally. Obviously a member of 3MB, which also featured Drew McIntyre, Heath not only had a t-shirt on that said free agent, but the commentators reminded us over and over, he got fired, don't forget he got fired, fired, but forget about that. Because Slater then cut a damn good promo where he was like, man, you and I were meant to be friends, and what did I do when you got your ass kicked out the company? I called you every day, but what did you do when the same thing happened to me in April? I barely heard from you, other than we were on the bump, which if you don't know is a WWE TV show. It's not like some weird thing they did with their hips. Amazingly, all of this led to a match between Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre too, because Heath wanted to prove himself. And going back to what I said earlier, this is when you went, oh right, they're just using Slater as a prop, because he got beaten in 30 seconds by the Claymore kick, because of course he did. I mean, they had this match in their jeans. Nobody was ready. Ziggler was also livid about all of this, and I can't understand why. Dolph, if Heath Slater had actually won here, that would have put your title shot in jeopardy, because surely we would have had a brand new number one contender. Anyway, he then started to beat up Heath Slater because he is crazy, and who saved him? Of course it was Drew McIntyre. Those two hugged. Thankfully their friendship has been saved, and honestly, this was so well done. Drew McIntyre beat up some poor guy that lost his job, but because they embraced, I ended up liking the Scottish psychopath even more. Explain that. All of this worked so well too, I was kind of a little bit gutted that WWE hadn't started this a few weeks earlier, so Dolph could start bringing back people from Drew's past, but either way, it's better late than never. Of course, the real question is who in the hell signed off on this match? You already know. It was me, I did it. I rang Heath Slater and I said, Heath, I know you've got kids and I just want to be there for you, unlike your crappy friend, Drew McIntyre. So I went out there and I did what I had to do. I went here, I went there, because I'm the wizard in the sky. Do a little dance. Ever wonder why when you are watching a review of Raw on your YouTube device, all of a sudden an apparent wizard in the sky just appears? And right now also appears to be dancing? Well, much like WWE, sometimes stuff just happens. So if you're trying to figure out why on earth a fired employee would be able to come back to Monday Night Raw and have a match against the WWE champion, well, call us at 0800 Stuff Just Happens. We'll explain it to you. We'll make you feel better. And as always, somebody is always ready to take your call. A quick interview with Sasha Banks and Bayley followed after this, although they didn't want to talk to Sarah Schreiber because they wanted to do all their talking in the ring, so off they trotted. And then Asuka turned up and Sarah was like, Asuka, I'm really worried about you because you're all alone, but the Empress of Tomorrow told us, I'm never alone, and what could that mean? Which meant out came our women's tag team champions, and of course they're getting an up. They've been great for around about 3 to 4 months. They just ran down Nikki Cross and Asuka, who of course they are going to be taking on at the pay-per-view, when Asuka did arrive and said, look, Sasha Banks, you need to shut up because you are terrible at maths. You keep calling yourself Sasha 2 belts, whatever you're saying, but right now I'm looking at you and you've only got 1 belt. And she was right. What a moron. She went on to note that Sasha didn't have a match for tonight, and quicker than you could go, wait a minute, what keeps happening to Mojo Rawley? Sometimes he's on my television and sometimes he's not. Bayley accepted on Banks' behalf. She did not appreciate that. And we were indeed about to get Sasha Banks going against Asuka's old but now new friend, the returning Kairi Sane. It's an up. And it was great to see her back, especially because there's been loads of rumors lately that maybe she's moving back to Japan and she's gonna leave the WWE. Unfortunately, this is getting a down. That has nothing to do with the match quality, because come on now, it was Sasha Banks versus Kairi Sane. I had an absolute hoot, including at one point when Bayley was just shouting in Asuka's face, so she pushed her over. But this all comes down to the finish. Do you know how this ended? Of course you do. WWE only has 3 options, and they just do them round and round all the time. Because here, it was a disqualification. That's right, we had 10 minutes of absolutely fantastic action, and I wanted to see a winner, but instead, when Kairi Sane locked in a Boston Crab, Bayley went, well, I'm just gonna get in the ring and punch you in the face, and that indeed decaused the DQ. There was a badass brawl afterwards, which finished when Kairi Sane hit the Insane Abel onto the tag team champions from the top rope as they were hanging about outside. And my main happiness here was that finally we got to see Kairi in a match as opposed to being eaten alive by Nia Jackson. We all remember that. I just can't handle these bait and switches anymore. I can't handle it. Every time now I think, oh wow, we're going to get this match. My brain goes, well, don't get excited, Simon, because it's either going to be roll up, it's either going to be distraction, or it's going to be a DQ. And I'm right every damn time. We're not even done for this evening. We then cut backstage where Aleister Black had been beaten up by someone because he was laying on the floor. Dun, dun, dun. He was also wearing a Rey Mysterio mask, so any Sherlock Holmeses out there were like, ha, I bet it was Seth Rollins or Buddy Murphy. And then you knew it was, because Seth Rollins was stood right there. He was next to the crime, and he actually did go, so I'm going to guess it was him. There was more bizarre stuff with the Viking Raiders too. They're going to team with Big Show later. So Big Show turned up and went, look guys, I love having fun all the time, but tonight we're not going to have fun. Which was the equivalent of him coming around your house for dinner and going, oh man, I love to have pizza every night for dinner. And then you feed him pizza and he goes, what is this? I don't want pizza. You're like, Big Show, I ain't inviting you again. Anyway, Eric and Ivar kept joking around and the Giant didn't like this, to the point he just went, huh, and he slapped one on the chest. Then he went, huh, and he slapped the other on the chest. And this kind of activated their serious switch, because all of a sudden they stood up and they went, we are the Viking Raiders, and the Raiders are about to begin. I can only assume that they're robots. Out of nowhere, it was then time for the Kevin Owens show. And if you've watched any episodes of Ups and Downs before, you know I love Kevin Owens. I actually don't think he can do wrong. He just understands his character and he understands what he needs to do. However, there was so much nonsense in this of me going, wait a minute, that's not true. And that doesn't make any sense. I've been backed into a corner here. It has to get a down. And again, Owens was great, including throwing all the furniture out of the ring before he even began because he wasn't happy with his guest. So I can only presume that somebody else does the booking, but it was Seth Rollins, and these two were about to have a little bit of a chat. Rollins tried to calm things down by saying, Kev, there's no need to throw chairs, which is actually quite sound advice, and then wanted to know how his ankle was, which he had hurt when the two had clashed at WrestleMania 36. And quicker than a blip, Owens went, well, I tell you what it is better than, your ego, because since that match, let's look at your win-loss record, Seth. Oh, that's right, it absolutely sucks. Oh, shots fired. Even still, Kev understands the bond that two wrestlers can have when they do compete at the show and shows, so he kind of sarcastically wanted to give him a Kevin Owens shirt, and Seth Rollins didn't like that, and he threw it away because he was here for one reason and one reason only. He knows that Rey Mysterio is cleared, and he wants a match with Rey at Extreme Rules. Somebody give it to him. And this is where the stupidness came and slapped me round the face, and that really hurts because Seth started talking about the fact that since WrestleMania, Kevin Owens hasn't been able to do anything because of his injury. Nope, that is not accurate at all. Kevin Owens had a mini feud with Angel Garza, and Kevin Owens had a match against Apollo Crews for the US Championship. What? Does WWE think we just forget this? Of course we don't, WWE. We're all massive geeks and we're all massive nerds. It would be like killing off He-Man, and the next episode of He-Man, Adam just sneaks back into a turn and he's like, well, I hope nobody noticed. We always notice. For some reason, this was enough for Seth to then invite Kevin Owens to join his group, and just as he was thinking it over, out came Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and Rey was like, look, I know that Kevin Owens ain't gonna fall for this madness, but more importantly, I accept your challenge at Extreme Rules, which I hear is gonna be a horror show. KO then agreed to take Aleister Black's place in the tag team match, but then also went on to say, oh, I have an idea. Whoever wins this can pick the stipulation for Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio at the pay-per-view. Now again, one, why would Kevin Owens be throwing this idea out there? And two, we're already doing this with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Why can't we come up with some new ideas? See, I told you it was nonsense. Thankfully, we then had this tag team match though, and it was absolutely great, so everything was fine. Give it up. Dominic was a little bit of a problem on the outside because Dad and would-be uncle were just so concerned about him, they were more focused on that dude than they were the actual match. And Seth Rollins was taking advantage of this from minute one, and at one point he went out there and he just raked Dominic's eyes, and Ray was like, oh, my son, for goodness sake, leave your kid at home. This happened again later on when Ray was going for the 619 on Seth, who got out of the ring and once again after Dominic, but thankfully this time he had a hero, because out from the back came Aleister Black and even had that song, I Need a Hero. Not true, I just thought it would be funny if he did. Anyway, he saved the child. Throughout all this fracas too, Dominic went and raked the eyes of Murphy, and there's just so many eye attacks here, and that of course led to the finish, because back in the ring, Rey Mysterio hit the 619, he hit the frog splash, and he pinned Don't Call Him Buddy for the 1, 2, 3. Okay, now right, make sure you are sitting down for this, because of course a Mysterio win meant he did get to pick the stipulation for the pay-per-view, and he has chosen an eye for an eye match. And he doesn't mean this figuratively, he means it literally, because Ray shouted into the mic, Seth, I want to rip your eyes out with my bare hands. Rey Mysterio has gone bonkers. So yes, again, just to clarify, the loser is going to have their watching device pulled from their skull. And I swear, between this and SmackDown, somebody writing the shows is absolutely playing Mortal Kombat. Because when this happens, if I don't get a finish him, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. I've seen Kano do that, although to be fair, he did it with a heart, boom boom. Everyone acted appalled, which I guess was the correct response, including Kevin Owens, and some of the commentators actually sounded like they were gonna throw up. But look, you can't get too mad at it. What's the name of the show? Extreme Rules? Well, I would say this is pretty damn extreme, and it's also absolutely ruined Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. What is Dolphy Boy gonna have to come up with now? He's gonna have to say, I've got it, Drew. We are gonna do the loser has his soul eaten match. And then Pumpa Shango will come out, he'll do his voodoo crazy stuff he used to do, and the soul will come out of the loser's body, and that's it. They'll be soulless forever. That's all they can do. I wouldn't put that past WWE either, but hey ho, somebody in the next 14 days is quite literally going to lose their eye. I am concerned. When this was announced too, I kid you not, the announcers went into overdrive. They were like, oh my gosh, Extreme Rules, the horror show, Extreme Rules, the horror show, Extreme Rules. I get it. Well done. You came up with a subtitle, you came up with a tagline. Stop pushing it into my face. MVP and Bobby Lashley were then doing an interview with Charlie Caruso. Boy howdy, are they not happy. They are super pissed off about Apollo Crews, but they have something to say, and they're gonna do it in the ring. We did learn throughout all of this though, that MVP versus Apollo Crews for the United States Championship is official for Extreme Rules, and that makes all the sense in the world because MVP did beat him last week. Then MVP just decided that he would reveal a brand new version, a brand new design of that championship, because he's like, look, I whooped your ass, therefore I think I should be the champion anyway. And we'll discuss it here. I think the belt looks really nice. I know nobody on the internet does. Like, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Well, why don't you go and have an eye versus eye match, and then you can lose your eyes and you never have to look at it again. Also, in a month, everybody will have forgotten about this. It happens all the time. Like with the Universal title. Everyone's like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. And then 3 weeks later, nobody cared. Just as they were about to put this title around MVP's waist too, they got interrupted by Cedric Alexander and Richard O'Shea. And it's a bit like some superstars can't make it to Raw at the moment. I wonder why. Actually not funny. And they stood up for Apollo, who for some reason was nowhere to be seen, and said, that is not how you win. That is not how you earn a championship title. You gotta do it in the ring. So someone better go and tell that to Triple H and Eric Bischoff. one for the old fans. They then challenged MVP and Bobby Lashley to a match, and clearly none of this was planned because MVP wrestled the whole thing in a suit. So what the hell happened here? You know what, I don't know. I didn't make it. I didn't go Halua and create this, so something fishy is... Who did make this damn match? I mean, I love Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, but I was taught long ago by WWE, they're just a couple of jabronis that should be on main event and nothing more. Something is afoot here, ladies and gentlemen, and I, the wizard in the sky, will figure it out. Now, I do love Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, but you just knew they were going to get wrecked here, and that was actually the right choice. Because MVP and Bobby Lashley, somewhat ironically, are kind of the MVPs of Raw at the moment, and you can't ruin them here. You've got to keep building and building and building. On the quiet too, I don't even mind if MVP does actually become the United States champion at Extreme Rules. Hence why in around about 5 minutes, Alexander did get speared by Lashley for the 1, 2, 3, and afterwards Bobby was just going nuts and he had the full Nelson on until Ricochet was able to make the save. But I liked all of this, again, just because those two are such a damn good team, is getting it up. Andrade and Angel Garza were then backstage arguing again because they just can't get it together until Ric Flair arrived to try and calm them down. So the granddad is back. But then Randy Orton came and he said, look, you idiots, we're teaming later, and I respect you both, kinda, because we're all third-generation athletes, but if anybody gets in my way when I go after Big Show, Daddy gonna whip your ass. You may be laughing going, ha ha, Daddy, just you wait. We also had a challenge by the Kabuki Warriors towards Sasha Banks and Bayley for the Tag Team Championship next week, and we're actually gonna get it. Color me excited. Also, Kairi Sane had a recorder again here, and she played the Kabuki Warriors entrance theme, but it was perfect. Now, it was also terrifying, because anything on a recorder sounds terrifying, and the highlight wasn't even that. The highlight was Charlie Caruso, who was so happy that someone had played a song on a recorder. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Charles. We then did have this bizarre match where Randy Orton was teaming with Andrade and Angel Garza to take on the Big Show and the Viking Raiders. But I tell you what, it was great. And the main reason for this was the man who hears voices in his head, who is just on another level right now. He is so flipping good. Because like he has promised, halfway through Andrade and Angel Garza were bickering like brothers. So he took Angel Garza, he slammed him up against the Perspex glass and said, look, if you don't get your head in the game, bad things are going to happen. He came across like an absolute loon. Randy Orton is the man. He also said that he would cancel Xmas and turn this car around if the two wouldn't shut it up. And the finish to this was just absolutely brilliant because the Viking Raiders were about to hit their big finish whoop-de-doo-da-da thing when Andrade and Angel Garza got involved. And then from nowhere, as he's wont to do, Randy Orton hit the RKO. He got the pin as the Big Show's on the outside going, oh, I can't believe I lost, boo-hoo. Go away, Big Show. The bad guy stood tall afterwards and was somewhat of a united front. And I loved all of this. I really did. I don't know why. It was just good. The Iconics were then ragging on Ruby Riott and they were going, oh, I don't like her tattoos. Oh man, sick burn. And then Ruby was here and goes, you know what, I don't like you too. And they're gonna have another match later. The thing that sucks about all of this is that Riott cut one of the best babyface promos you've seen all of 2020 on Raw Talk, but there's the problem, it was on flipping Raw Talk. They better air this on Raw proper next week, otherwise I'm gonna get mad. Not really, I let this stuff go like that, but I've said it. We also then had another brilliant tease because MVP was trying to recruit Cedric Alexander into his team. Now, Cedric was having none of this, but it just felt to me that by the end of it, maybe he was being won around. MVP also had a great line where he was like, well, you're gonna work in catering all your life if you don't listen to me, because that's where you'll be sat for most of WWE's big events. I mean, are you kidding me? MVP, somebody give him a crown. I don't have MVP's address. I have no idea how to get hold of him, so I'm wearing a crown, officially the MVP crown. I don't know what that is. We had a third segment too, and this one also raised my eyebrow of intrigue as well. Because Randy Orton and Ric Flair were having a discussion when R-Truth turned up, and he was quite funny too. He was like, for the dirtiest player in the game, you dress up kind of nice, but that led him to think, wait a minute, you're not Ric Flair at all, you must be Tozawa. That was the stupidest thing ever, but that's R-Truth for you. And then he legged it when he saw the real Tozawa and the ninjas approaching. They then ran away too, because everybody's scared of Randy Orton. Now all of this does seem kind of random, mostly because it was kind of random. My secret hope is that R-Truth is going to be the next legend, which he is a legend, to get punted in the head by Randy Orton, and maybe then we just retire the 24/7 championship for good too. I would do that, WWE. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. Billie Kay then beat Ruby Riott, and I just don't get what we're doing. I know it's building to the comeback of Liv Morgan, and again, everything on Raw Talk was good, but when I was watching this, it just made me feel sad, like the Big Show earlier. She won with the Eat Defeat, which is this weird slam that she did. It was okay. It's getting it down. It was in our main event, which was featuring Asuka going against Bayley, and that's exciting straight away. But WWE just couldn't help themselves. It's like they went, let's ruin that bald asshole show by doing all the good, but also all the bad. Let's just talk about it. Now, for starters, Nikki Cross just turned up, and she was gonna be on commentary. And while the security guard did try to throw her out there, because you know she's a SmackDown star on Raw, which we've been told time and time again is not allowed to happen, the announcer just went, nope, it's fine. We vouch for her. She can do whatever she wants. So I suppose if Tom Phillips see a murder, but it happens to be in a Raw wrestling ring, he'll say to the police, no, don't worry about it. I was happy with the murder. And the police go, oh, Tom Phillips. Oh, Tom Phillips. We don't want to cross Tom Phillips. So apparently they just have these kind of powers. Oh, no, it was me. Of course it was you. Anyway, then seconds later, Bayley just slapped the headset off her head anyway. Nikki Cross attacked, and that meant she finally got thrown out of there. What a waste of my life, but I will talk about it more later because there is more. As for this match though, hell flipping yeah. Asuka is so good, Bayley is so good. They had like 20 minutes plus, which is not something you get on Raw very often. And I just was so invested, especially because Sasha Banks and her best mate had all these dumb skits. Like at one point the boss was like, oh, drink some water. They had a water break like it was the flipping Premier League. Give it an up. But because of everything that had happened beforehand and because of the finish, WWE has left me with no choice. I don't want to do this. It's not fair. These two are so good, but the ending is getting it down. Because after Nikki Cross had magically returned, but this time she was in the crowd, and you just know that damn wizard in the sky was responsible for that, it distracted Bayley so much she didn't know what was going on, and the surprise was just too much for her. Because it allowed Asuka to lock in the Asuka lock on Bayley, when all of a sudden Kairi Sane just speared Sasha Banks, and that was actually kind of cool. And after a bit of toing and froing, Asuka managed to put in the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and she did indeed ping the SmackDown Women's Champion. But why did we have to do that? Why couldn't she have just won properly? Just do it, it doesn't matter. Oh, I don't understand. Also, bring down the counter. I was told that apparently I'd missed some. All right, fine. We'll put it up to 50. It's still around 50. 50? 50? Pff, I don't understand. And yeah, I know it was technically a clean win, but I can't handle any more roll-up finishes. I can't stand here and go, oh, I don't care, it was a roll-up finish. I made a damn counter. Clearly, I care a little bit. But moving all of that aside, what an absolutely great main event. And I tell you, Asuka and Kairi Sane, put her in there too, Sasha Banks and Bayley, are so integral to everything WWE is doing right now, they put a smile on my face. All of them are brilliant. I just want something different, you know, when it comes to finishes. I would take at this point an elephant walking out and stealing the pin just because I could go, oh, I didn't see that coming. But DQs, distractions, and roll-ups, I see them coming from 42 million miles away, and I don't even have a telescope. But I will tell you this, aside from a few shenanigans here and there, again, like I said, another excellent episode of Raw, and I'm really excited about the pay-per-view, and I'm really excited about the women's tag team match that is gonna main event in 7 days' time. That's a round of applause all around. What a fun 3 hours it was. Overall, of course, is getting it up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to WhatCulture. The button is right there. Then head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on YouTube and WhatCulture Wrestling. I'm Simon from WhatCulture. For some reason, wearing a crown on my head. Raw just keeps getting more and more skits, but I'm doing my best. I'll see you soon.